Sure enough, I get there and so I don't know, well, who do I sign it over to? Do the paperwork, and he goes, "Oh, I don't believe in that." And I'm like, "Okay, well I do, so I'd like you to sign something." This first starts where I have a good friend of mine, Cameron Marshall. He owns a workshop, CM Warehouse. He specializes in BMWs, but he works on all kinds of things. We're good friends, and I often pop my head in and see what he's doing, what he's working on, and quite often he'll throw me the keys to something and I'll go give it a test drive. On this particular day, he had this 135 BMW. It was pretty much absolutely bone stock on the outside. It was lowered a little bit, some black wheels and nice accents on it. And he told me to run to the parts store and grab something for him. I said, cool, I'll jump in this thing. And like every vehicle that I drive, I like to give it a little bit of a test and see what it was. And this thing absolutely blew the doors off of everything I was going past. It was very fast. It was a full bolt-on car. It made insane power, but looked so subtle. Anyway, I fell in love with the car and I'm like, this is amazing. I returned to the workshop and I said, what has been done to this thing? It's crazy. And he rattled off all the modifications. It has this and that. I said, how much do you want for it? And he said, well, it's currently for sale, but I've got someone interested and he's coming to look at it tonight. I'm like, okay, all right, well, let me know how it goes. The next day comes and I'm like, how did you go with the BMW sale? And he says, it's sold. He drove away. It was a very interesting sale. And I said, what do you mean by interesting? And he goes, the guy was definitely an interesting character and he didn't have a license and he didn't believe in the laws and all this sort of stuff. So it was a very interesting sale. I got my money through Bitcoin or something extravagant like that. But anyway, he was well versed in that and he saw payment and he let the car go and I never saw it again for quite a few months until I had a vehicle that was for sale that he was interested in. I had a Volvo S60R that I acquired on a ski trip. I had it on Marketplace and this interesting fellow messaged me. He goes, hey, how much do you want for the car? You know, what's your best deal? And I told him the price and he goes, I've got this BMW that I will trade you. And I'm like, okay, what is it? And at that time, the S60R only owed me a few $1,000s. I got it for an insanely good deal. When he sent me the 135, I'm like, that car looks very familiar. This was maybe a year later, maybe not even, maybe 6 months. And I'm like, that car looks very familiar. It had different plates at the time. It had some interesting modifications to it. And I'm like, okay. So I sent it to my buddy who's well versed in BMWs and he said, that's my old car. And I said, very well. So we went back and forth with this individual. I said, well, I'll come look at the car. I'll bring the Volvo and you can have a look at that. And he then told me, hey, it's smoking a bit. And I'm like, okay, I can deal with that. I know how much money of modification's been spent on this car. It was a full bolt-on car. It had a lot of expensive aftermarket parts on it. So I knew there was value in it. So I rocked up and he obviously did not know the value of said parts. He said, look, I'm happy to do a straight swap. And I had a mechanic with me who's a bit more well-versed in BMWs and the N54. He's inspecting the vehicle and he's going, this is a bit weird. It's making funny noises and stuff like that. And this was at a time where N54s were not too expensive. So I thought, absolute worst case scenario, I'm down a few $1,000s in getting a new engine. Sure enough, we're in the negotiation process and he's telling me about how he's got this trust fund, he's got this family, he has to message his uncle to acquire the money. And I'm thinking, this is going nowhere. I wanted some cash back towards myself because I had the Volvo listed at a ridiculous price. Eventually, after a week of toing and froing and him having to go to the safety deposit box in town and get money out of his trust fund and this and that, he said, I have the cash. And I'm like, I will be there today. Sure enough, I get there and so I don't know, well, who do I sign it over to? Do the paperwork. And he goes, oh, I don't believe in that. And I'm like, okay, well, I do. So I'd like you to sign something. So I drew up these documents on Microsoft Word and sure enough, he was obliged. He signed away and he gave me real currency. Part of the negotiation was he had another car sitting out on the road that he just acquired. And it was an old 80s Nissan Bluebird. And it had a built engine and stuff. And I'm like, sure, I'll include that in the deal too, because I'm seeing there's a bit of value in that. So I ended up driving away in an old Nissan Bluebird, the BMW on the back of a trailer, and he kept the S60R that was only a few $1,000s out of my pocket. So then we get it to the workshop and we start inspecting it, and it had forked written on the windscreen, and I thought that was a profanity, but it wasn't. It was actually forked, and that's because he wasn't forthcoming with the information of the vehicle, and he had just got it out of the impound yard after being in a police chase, and the car was crashed into a little bit in the rear. It had a big dent in the boot lid, and it had interesting stickers, and that's only where it began. So we start tearing into this car. Sure enough, he was going on about, oh, the government's against me, blah, blah, blah. They've ruined my engine. They've put something in the oil and it's broken. He only came forth with this information, obviously, after the transaction occurred, but I was already prepared to lose on the engine. Sure enough, when we were inspecting the vehicle, there was odd substances in the oil and we're trying to work out what it is. Anyway, the motor was toast. So I bought another one off Interstate and got it over here. That's only the start of the interesting stuff we decided to find in the vehicle. So this guy's a bit interesting. He's a sovereign citizen, I think they call it. Yeah, as we're looking through the vehicle, we're seeing all these little hieroglyphics and stuff. He had gone to town on the engine bay underneath the car, in the interior, on the key, with permanent marker and paint pens and stuff with dots, just lots of little dots and a swastika or two or this, that, like little squiggles just everywhere. It's like he was in another world and just drawing all over this car. So with a lot of chemicals and scrubbing and stuff, everything kind of came off. Found a big bowl of tape, like a tape ball, like you unravel a tape and it gets bigger and bigger anyway. There was 2 of those shoved in random places in the car when I was cleaning it out. I'm like, what is this? And I'm like, it could be a tape ball or it could be something more interesting. So of course I've decided to unravel it, and I'm unraveling and then it turns into this big sheet of paper. It's an A4 piece of paper that's covered in all this tape. This would have taken hours to do. So I've slowly peeled the tape off and there's a message. It's written in hieroglyphics and dots, and it's just a whole bunch of words that don't make any sense. It was just the most insane thing I've ever seen on the engine bay, on the exhaust, anywhere you could find. There was just hieroglyphics and different symbols and this and that. I then inspected the Bluebird that I decided to drive home. Mind you, this transaction was very fast. I didn't want to be around the character for very long. It was a really good deal my way, so I thought I'd get out of there as soon as I could. So I get back, and sure enough, this Nissan Bluebird has all the same different hieroglyphics and random paintings and stuff throughout the car. And then I gave it a good clean and took the knife and the this and the that out of the car, and I cleaned it up, and I managed to sell that for a nice clean 2000 Olympic edition VT Commodore, which turned into a whole nother story of its own. That vehicle, I drove it to a halfway point after speaking to another guy on Marketplace that assured me that he wants to do the swap, and I'm like, that's absolutely fine by me, and that was a good trade for me. And we decided to meet halfway, and he brought 3 of his friends, and they tore the thing apart, and they said this, that, and I'm like, okay, well, you don't have to purchase it, that's absolutely fine. So I said, hey, I'll let you sleep on it, and we can meet again tomorrow. And that's what we did. We went away, we slept on it. I said, hey, are you still interested in swapping the car? He said, yes, absolutely, that's great. I swapped over the car with him. I even gave him an extra $50 for fuel because he was complaining about that, so sweetened the deal a bit, and I've again won. And then, sure enough, a few days later, my phone just starts blowing up, and I'm like, okay, what does this guy want? I finally give him an answer, and he goes, hey man, can I swap back? And I said, look, I've already moved the car on and I don't think I'll be swapping it back. And he goes, oh, it's not exactly what I'm after. My missus is angry at me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, look, I did everything I possibly could. You had all your friends come and inspect it. You had all the time in the world to make that decision. And he goes, oh, it's not very good for a baby seat. I'm like, look, I'm sorry, but the deal's been done. And he was a very disgruntled gentleman that left me quite a lot of profanity, and that's fine by me. I didn't hear from it ever again until 3 years later. I was just over in the US, just driving around, and my phone starts blowing up, and I'm like, who the hell is this? And I've gone to the thing, and that's that guy that did that weird swap with me on Marketplace many moons ago, like literally 3 years ago. Yeah, I answer the phone, I'm like, hello, or messaging, I think, and he's just like, oh, you're the guy that sold me the car that I didn't want, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, how are you going on about this 3 years later? We've done the deal. It's fine. I'm like, did the car break down? Did something happen? Like, I'm sorry if it did. He goes, no, the car's fine. It was just a bad decision for me. And I don't know if he's been drinking or what, but he messaged me 3 years later, managed to find me on Facebook to complain yet again.
This month of VINwiki content is brought to you by Bridgestone, and the most exciting news out of Bridgestone is the new release of their Turanza Prestige tire. It is their flagship Grand Touring tire, targeting luxury SUVs, crossovers, and sedans, like a Mercedes S-Class or a BMW X7. And this gives you all the whisper quiet ride that you want in a high-end luxury experience, as well as the wet and dry weather performance that we love from Bridgestone. And you'll get some of the greatest longevity they've ever had on street tires, 70,000 mile limited warranty. So we love Bridgestone for their sports car and supercar tires in the Potenza range. Of course, the Dueler AT Ascent that I've got on my Porsche Cayenne, I absolutely love. But whatever you're looking to find tires for, Bridgestone has something great. So check them out now at the link in the description below to learn more about the Bridgestone family of tires.